Well, turning to politics now, at this point in the 2020 election, health care was at the forefront, at least among Democratic presidential candidates. This time around, Medicare appears to be a forgotten topic. At least that's how Rick Newman, our very own Rick Newman, I should say, puts it, breaks it down for us. Rick, we've got a long way to go, right? Why are we not hearing as much, though, about this very issue that really riled up the base in the last election?
Let me just take you back to where we were 4 years ago. Many people probably want to forget about this, but around this time in 2019, 15 months before the 2020 election, there was a debate with 10 Democratic candidates, and the dominant topic was Medicare for all. Should we have Medicare for all, a single giant program that covers everybody, or should we have some lesser reforms? Now, President Biden won. He favored smaller reforms, but fast forward to today, and you are hearing basically nothing about any kind of healthcare reforms. Nobody's talking about Medicare for all. Part of the reason for that is President Biden, since he's running for re-election as an incumbent, he's basically running unopposed. So there's no Bernie Sanders in the race, no Elizabeth Warren, no Cory Booker saying, oh, we need to run on this giant healthcare program, put everybody into Medicare. And Republicans basically have no healthcare plan at all. I mean, their only plan in recent memory was to repeal Obamacare. That failed spectacularly in 2017, and they're probably lucky it did because they didn't have a backup plan. They would just repealed it and thrown 30 million people off of insurance. So we're just not talking about healthcare reform at all in the 2024 election, and I'm not sure we ever will.
Well, Rick, one issue we certainly are hearing a heck of a lot about, and something that voters are paying very close attention to, it's inflation. We are seeing some improvement with inflationary pressures easing, but we put up a poll from Yahoo Finance on Twitter here, asking our audience, asking consumers whether or not they are feeling any improvement when they go to pay for goods and services. 71% are saying no. Obviously, inflationary pressure is a massive issue here for Biden as we look ahead to 2024. He has gotten a little bit more aggressive in terms of his messaging on the economy, but how big of a risk, a challenge is this for the administration as we do get closer and closer to voting day?
Well, for the last 2 years, I think inflation has been Biden's single biggest political and economic problem for obvious reasons. I mean, we had gas prices hitting $5. That just freaks people out and makes them feel like everything's wrong. We've got rents that are going up by more than earnings. Food prices have been going up by more than earnings. So that said, the trend is definitely going Biden's way. So inflation overall peaked at an annual rate of 9 or 9.1% last June. It's now down to 3%. If we just had 3% without 2 years of very high inflation, nobody would even really notice. The reason that people are still shell-shocked by inflation is that, we've had basically 2 years of run-ups in prices, and those increases are still there. So even though the rate of increase has come down by a lot, most prices are not falling. They're not going back to where they were, let's say, 2 years ago. But in the next year or so, we could see more prices actually turning around and starting to decline. We have seen a few things start to do that. Used cars is a good example. I mean, we saw astronomical inflation rates for used cars for about 6 months, and used car prices are now coming down, and economists think that that is going to continue. Rents are probably going to moderate. So Biden could end up being in pretty good shape on inflation a year from now. I mean, what really matters for 2024 is the condition of the economy about a year from now. Economists are predicting inflation in the range of 2.5%, maybe a little bit lower than that. So maybe by then, a year of moderating prices and people will start to feel better.
That's at least certainly what the administration is hoping. We've got a long way to go, though. Rick Newman, as always, thanks so much for that.
Bye, guys.